It always amazes me what people can do with the simplest instruments. Well, now I told you we were going to compare and contrast the way we played versus the way they played. So let's think about this. I'm going to draw a chart on the board. We're going to have a side that says us. Let's talk about how we played it. What was the characteristics of our way of playing boomwhackers? Then on the other side, it'll say them. And we need to talk about the things they did and their characteristics. And let's see which ones are the same, and let's see which ones are different. And then let's talk about one of the things you may have noticed. The biggest difference was that their notes changed. We all each held one boomwhacker the entire time. It was the same exact note over and over and over for us. So it was just the rhythm we had to look at. Was it a short note, a long note? Was it a pattern? But the guys in the video, Plastic Music, I know that's a weird name for a group, they were changing notes. They were not always holding the same boomwhacker, the same color. And so they were having to not just think about the rhythm, how short or long the notes were, but also how high, how low. Well, that's what we call the melody. And last 9 weeks, we were looking at just rhythm. That was our main focus. Just when do we play the note? This 9 weeks, we are going to be looking at melody, how we can take that rhythm and give it a tune so it gets higher and lower. And it's the main theme of a song. Sometimes the whole melody might stay low, 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 but it can change notes. And it can be a little bit low to a lot low, or it can be all high, like children would sing high. But then there's different kinds of high. There's a little bit high, a lot high. If you look at my keyboard, you can see that there are a lot of different notes. And this is what we will use when, oh, you like that shot up my nose? Kind of gross, huh? Yeah, I better get rid of that for you. Okay, so see, as you look at my keyboard, every single one of these keys, oh, it would help if I turned it on. Let me turn it on for you. All the way down here. Okay, every single key is a different note. A different pitch is how you say it, versus the notes and rests we were discussing. So every key is a different pitch, all the way from the low ones up to the high ones. But there are no two exactly identical. And when you make a melody, you are just mixing up all these different pitches in the correct order to get the correct sound. You can move in an upwards motion. Hear how it went from low to high. Or you can move in a downwards motion. It went high to low. You can move by steps. That is when you move from one note to one that is beside it, like you're going up a set of stairs. You can move downwards in the same step motion. But you can also do skips and leaps. And that is when you don't go to the notes that are immediately beside each other, but rather are separated by other notes. Let's see, this would be a skip. So step, side by side. Skips or leaves is leaving a few out. Okay, so now we know how we use pitches to create these melodies so that we don't just have rhythm. Drums play rhythm, but not every song is going to be just drums. So I was telling you earlier, a melody is the main idea, the main theme of the song. If you were to listen to a song on the radio, you've got drums going on, guitars going on, keyboards, you got your lead guitar, your rhythm guitar, your soloists, your backup singers. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So how do you know what if that's the melody? It's that part that if when you turn the radio off, you continue to sing. Here's a song you've heard me play bazillions of times. It has no words. It's called Clowns. And it starts off, no big deal. Nothing special. But then, listen to what comes in. Maybe I need to start over. We grown-ups make boo-boos too. But anyway, you hear the difference. This was just kind of some filler. You see the smiley face over my shoulder? Ain't he cool? He's made out of a whole note, a whole note. This, we may not get to this year, but it's called a flat cymbal. And then this is the fermata. Yeah, sometimes it goes the other way. Fifth graders, you remember we had one in Hero. It was the one I told you looks like an eyebrow or a bird's eye. And so I used some music symbols to make a funny face. Anyway, so this part was just filler. Next quarter, after our winter break, we'll learn more about what this filler does for the song. This part, this is our melody. It's the main tune. Let's see what I can find maybe to help you understand a little more. It's kind of hard to find when you can't sing it. Let's see. I got books over here. I think I want... Okay. That'll work. So, Lean on Me. Most of you know that song. Lean on me. Sometimes in our lives, we all know that. I can play that. Okay, you got it, right? You've heard it before. Maybe you've heard it at some get-together, at a funeral, at church, lots of different places. So you've heard it before, probably. Even if you've never sung it and you don't know the words, you're familiar with the tune. Well, that was a whole lot of stuff going on. What out of that was our melody? Well, if you do know the words, you know it goes, sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. Well, I can play just the melody too. I was singing the melody, the main tune, but this is what I can pull out of the keyboard part. Now listen for that melody as I add the rest back. Now you can hear it, can't you? I'm going to play some samples of music, And I want you to listen for where is the melody and help me find it, okay? So now that you can hear and identify a melody, we need to start looking at how do we read melodies, what are they made of, so that we're not just passive musicians, but we're active musicians. We can create the music instead of always waiting on others to create it for us. The first thing we're going to look at is on my board. It's a set of stairs, and it is the scale. And there are different types of scales. There's major scales, minor scales, blues scales. There's all kinds of scales. But the main one that you're going to encounter that is in most popular music is the major scale. It is a set of 8 notes that work together to create the tunes in a song. And you'll notice as we sing them, you'll start noticing a pattern almost, or it'll lead you to think of a certain note next, even if you haven't heard it before. I'm going to put it up on the board, and I want you to help me sing through it because it's a whole lot different to just hear it than to sing it. And when you sing it, you're making it ingrained in your mind. And you'll remember what it feels like so that you can recreate it yourself at a later time. So let's look at the major scale. Okay, so now that you know what the notes are supposed to sound like together, we need to look at how to read these notes. Because you remember with rhythm, it was all about the shape of the note. Was it a dot with a stick? Was it a circle with a stick? Was it that squiggly line for the rest? Was it just a circle, you see me, for the whole note? The paired eighth notes, 2 dots, 2 sticks, and they're holding hands. So it was all about the shape that determined what type of note it was. Well, when it comes to the melody, it's not about shape, it's about where is it located. So we need a staff. Now a staff is simply 5 lines and 4 spaces that you place those different notes that we learned, quarter note, eighth note, quarter rest. We place those notes on these different 5 lines and 4 spaces, and where they end up determines which note you play. So hold on and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, remember I said it's 5 lines and 4 spaces. This is a treble clef staff. You can see their lines. Go ahead, count them. Start at the bottom. We always start at the bottom when we are counting the lines of a staff. Okay, now this crazy looking symbol at the very beginning is called a treble clef. The treble clef that you see tells us that all of the notes on this staff are going to be in a higher range. That would be your ladies' voices, children's voices, flutes, clarinets, saxophone, xylophones, any of the instruments that make higher sounds or voices, that would be higher sounds. But there is another type of staff. Dun, dun, dun. It's called the bass clef staff. See how it looks kind of like an ear with maybe 2 earrings up on the top? Again, you can see this staff has 5 lines. Count them to make sure that Miss Webb didn't make a mistake. Even teachers make mistakes. Did you count from the bottom? Okay. Well, this bass clef staff says that any notes that end up on the bass clef are going to be in the lower range. Men's voices. Tubas, yeah, definitely the tuba would be in the low range. Trombone, baritone, any of the lower sounds. And so we're not going to use this one very much. Some of you older guys may get to this before the end of the year. But this one is we're not gonna need right now. So we're gonna look at it later. The rules are a little bit different for bass clef than treble clef. So let's go back to the treble clef.